All right, so we're going to work just a little bit on wrapping up or resolving Twinmotion scenes, specifically looking at exterior, trying to tighten things up, make things just look a little bit more polished in terms of how we're presenting our work. So this is going to start with, obviously this is work in progress, and we're working on these micro home projects. And one of the things that I've realized in everybody's renderings, the cars look terrible. Get rid of them. They don't belong in the renderings that we're trying to create. We want to focus on the building design. Having a car in there just destroys how these things look. So start by deleting your cars if they're in there. Next, we need to set true north and set our latitude and longitude so we're actually getting the correct shade and shadow on these projects. And you're going to do that by going to the ambience. So ambience is sort of everything in the scene, how it's all working, okay? So when we go to ambience, first thing that we want to do is come down and get a location that's close. And so you can type in your latitude and longitude, but you can also do something as simple as typing in where your project is at, and it is going to set the latitude and longitude for you. Now, latitude and longitude often isn't enough. A lot of times we do need to go ahead and set up true north as well. So based on how your building is oriented, and usually it's not as much as rotating 180 degrees like I am here, but often it is going to be off 15 or 20 degrees, which is going to make a dramatic difference on your shadows. So set that up, get that set up correctly. As you are building, don't forget to toss in some things. Once you have your latitude and longitude, your true north set, don't forget to toss in some things that begin to break up the ground plane. Okay, so for instance, I can come into my objects, not objects, that's not what I want. I want to toss in, where are the things that I want to toss in? Is it underneath vegetation? Yeah, it's underneath vegetation, which rocks aren't really vegetation, but rocks do a tremendously good job of sort of breaking up the ground plane and how things are happening. So I can just sort of toss in a rock, get a little bit of a rotation here, make sure that it's down into the ground, and place that in a location where it's starting to just break up my edges a little bit. That allows me to just, not see the same thing over and over and over again. Then I can fill in some of the grassy spots. So I'm just going to select my grass, go back to my paintbrush, and let's trim that down just a pinch. Let's get some of that area filled in. A little bit of this right back in here. And I'm going to make that diameter even smaller to fill in right here in front of that rock. Cool, looking a lot better. Simple stuff to do, makes a dramatic difference. Okay, so the next, I've got one bare spot there that looks terrible. That's okay, maybe we'll Photoshop that in later. So the next thing that I want to do with this rendering is I have a decent light setup. And if I do export this as a rendering, it's certainly okay. But inside of Twin, I do have some more advanced render settings. And the one to start with is going to be under HDRI environments and then skies. And what this will do is it replaces the default single source sun with an entire image that's going to illuminate our scene. And now you do need to be aware of this. This is going to modify some things, like true north is not necessarily going to be true north anymore unless I take the time to line up this HDRI image with where the sun is coming from. So this might not give you exactly what you want if you're trying to be precise with studying shade and shadow, but it provides a higher quality overall illumination, especially for outdoor scenes. So let's just look at morning and afternoon. Let's go back. Let's do morning and afternoon and cloudy skies. And you can see I have a massive variety of skies. And none of these are loaded on Twinmotion. These all live in the cloud. If these were all loaded with Twinmotion right out of the gate, it would be a massive file. I mean, we're talking about gigs of space that would be taken up on your laptop or computer. So these are things that you have to download. So essentially the process is very simple though. I'm just going to click the download button. This should just take a second to download, even though they are fairly large files, so be aware of that. Once I have that, I can drag and drop that into my scene. And this is going to replace the sky in the background with that cloud. And you can also see it immediately relights the entire scene based off of this cloudy sky. So you can see that is the location of the sun, and so it's actually creating illumination from that direction. So if I want to move that around, I can go to my HDR environment. I can change the intensity of that lighting. So the default was pretty good. And then I can change the rotation, and you can actually see it's moving that around. And again, my sun is now right behind the building, which is casting those long shadows this direction. So let's change that rotation around so that we're getting some direct illumination on the building and getting something like that. And then we can come back up and let's change the overall season to put just a little bit of color into the trees, make them not so bright and green and scary. And now we're ready for a different type of rendering, and we have a different type of cloud background rather than the default Twinmotion clouds.